We'd like to start out by thanking our valuable sponsors. Sense of Satisfaction by Cricket is the place for all your fragrance needs. Plus, she's got products to heal what ails your skin and your hair. Shop at scentsbycricket.com. Special thanks to our valued sponsor, John Travis, a financial coach and certified Kingdom advisor with Richard Young Associates, a registered investment advisor. Thanks goes to Anna Patterson, my sister in the Lord who faithfully gives to this ministry every month. And to our newest sponsor, LaToya Gerard of Preach the Word Worldwide Network. She is a valued sponsor and a major encourager regarding this ministry. We need and would love to have you as a sponsor. Absolutely no gift is too small. Please note the info regarding giving throughout and at the end of the show, and help us spread these testimonies around the world. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily the viewpoints of our sponsors. It's time to hear the story, make the connection, learn the lesson, and gain the wisdom. Are you ready? Let's get charged and be changed. The SisterSpeak+BrotherBreak show. Conversations on grace, healing, and deliverance. This is Marcy Bush. Come on, let's journey together. In the Bible, and I've heard Bishop say, I remember him saying it one time, but I caught it. And it was talking about even with the Lord's Supper, how I think it's when it talks about over in 1 Corinthians, I believe, where it says about discerning the Lord's body. Mm-hmm. And like when you don't, this is why many of you are sick.
Right.
And some have even fallen asleep because we're the body.
Without doubt.
But we don't even know who on the road with us.
Right.
You don't even know who
totally
else.
Agree.
You don't know who is right there and has gone through what you're going through.
Right.
Because we're tight-lipped or we don't receive.
Right.
And the thing is, you're wanting this divine visitation. Mm-hmm. Your neighbor is.
So Bishop has been hitting a little stuff like that. Every once in a while you hear him say stuff like, why would you, in this rush to get to me, pass over somebody that could be a blessing to you?
Yes.
And I even caught myself Sunday or the Sunday before that, one of the Sundays. But I was like, so y'all trying to get to me about a breakthrough,
right?
When that sister or brother you just passed could have been the answer.
Yes.
That could be what you needed.
Exactly.
But you didn't see them correctly. Because we look at people by external views instead of the God that's trapped on the inside. If you knew their journey, you know they got an answer for what you're dealing with.
Because God charged me when we started this. He charged me to leave the titles alone.
Gotcha.
To leave, because your title don't bring your power.
Oh, you better don't.
Now, that's how some people recognize, but you ain't even, you're looking at a title.
That's all
it is Virgil and what you went through in your private life, what you went through on your personal journey that has allowed you to step into the place that you're in God. And so many times, like you said, people are rushing to get to their pastor or to get to the prophet.
Right.
When if I see you in the grocery store I don't even know you.
Right.
The God in you.
There you go.
You know, and so it's just a thing, and I know it's an American thing.
What, the titles?
Yes.
Oh, we're big on it, and I hate to say this, but especially the African American community.
Yes, sir.
We love titles because of a slavery mindset. And we feel like when we get free, we're supposed to get a title attached to something so we'll know what to do. But we got to remember, that's still what you do. That's not who you are. And even the devil don't recognize titles. I mean, remember one time something happened in the scripture, and then he said this, he said, Paul I know, and Jesus I know. But notice, he didn't say Apostle Paul.
Right.
Neither did he say King Jesus.
Right.
He said, Paul I know and Jesus I know. And then, excuse my terminology, but he said, but who the hell are you? That's pretty much what he was saying. Who are you?
Right.
In other words, so you want me to recognize your title? I don't recognize titles. God does not recognize our titles.
Right.
He give us titles for the sake of humanity.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
But we make a big deal of it, making it seem like the only way you can orchestrate power is you got to have some title attached to it. You got to be prophet so-and-so, apostle. And I've never seen so many apostles and prophets raising up now, because everybody wants these titles. No man has affirmed that.
Right.
My God has affirmed. No, you need a man to affirm that.
Won't come under a covering.
Yeah, sorry.
Won't come under a covering.
Exactly.
Don't want to be corrected.
Exactly.
Don't want to. And I'm like,
Because see, what has happened is we've taken these titles or the gifts that we read in the scripture and we've made them orderly.
Right.
We make like one is bigger than the other one is greater than the other one. So now everybody thinks that the apostle is the big deal.
Right.
Because that's the head gifting. That's not true. Right. Every gift is just as important as the other one. When you start talking about apostle, it's not talking about just going around establishing churches. What an apostle would do is he sets order, which only means that when he come into a place of chaos, it ought to comes into order because of his authority.
Yes, sir.
That's all it means.
Yes,
it has nothing to do with you being greater than anybody else. Look at our bishop. That's not even one of the fivefold.
Right.
But he's called a bishop.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. He walks in the gifting of an apostle because all chaos has to come under his call. I get that. But to be a bishop, it means that other pastors have submitted themselves. See, a bishop only is a gifting. It's a reward given by man because of the anointing that you walk in.
Okay.
That's why they see him as bishop, because they was like, this man is changing people's lives. Yeah. This man is anointed for what he's doing. He's anointed to guide other shepherds. So you get the reward of a bishop, reward of that title. But anybody with good sense know that if you need a title to function, you're in trouble. Right. You don't need a title. Right. You need to know who you are.
Because the title oftentimes it'll make people malfunction. It does not. They don't.
You know, excited.
They don't function. You get the title and you malfunction.
You know what I did? One time in church, everybody just like all of a sudden decided they would do nothing. Everybody was lazy, and I had been noticing it for years. I was going, what is going on? I stood up in the pulpit. I said, I'm stripping all titles now. You are not elder so and so. You are not deacon so and so. I don't care who you are. You are your first name. You're whatever your mama call you. That's the end of it. I took every title. Do you know that when I took the titles, they went to work? And I waited for about a year and a half and 2 years before I ever started giving anybody a title again. Sometimes I regret that I gave it back to them, but they're working actually now.
Yes, sir.
But I took it away because that title was literally causing them to malfunction. Right. Because sometimes titles make people feel like they're this, you got to depend on me. I don't need to depend on you. And I especially don't trust your title. Right. We don't falter in our personhood. We falter in our functions. Because your personhood came strictly out of God. Yes. Yes. God's spirit don't have issues. Right. None. Right. Neither does it have rivals. There's no rival to who I am. I am who I am. Yes. You are who you are. Yes, sir. It is what it is. Yes, sir. But in our functions, we find rivals all the time. We find flaws all the time. Because if you're looking for your power out of your function, you're going to be very frustrated. Yes, sir. And you'll stay frustrated. That's why most pastors don't last a long time. And their houses fall apart. They don't let you know that, but their houses fall apart too. Because what will happen is they'll get so caught up in their function that they don't know how to come out of it. Yes, sir. And so now you got a woman making love to her pastor at the house instead of her husband. Yeah. And it's going to cause problems in the house. You see what I'm saying? Yes, sir. Because he's so caught up, he'll know. I called a guy one time, and I said, hey, brother, what you doing? I won't call his name. I said, brother, what you doing? Pastor. Well, excuse me? You want me to call you pastor? Oh, I won't do it now, because you can't do that to me. Right. I'm that guy that's going to push the edge. Right. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. Right. So you're going to tell me I got to call you by your title? I'm not being disrespectful to you, but I know ain't no power in that title. Right. Right. I was giving you the benefit of the doubt. Yes, sir. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me, because that's a person that's caught up and they can't function outside of their title. Right. Well, that's a bad place to be, because you're going to have trouble helping people.
So do you believe that Do you think you've always known who you are, or was it in and out of seasons?
There's a lot of in and out of seasons, but I also had glimpses of who I was. And usually it would come from my times with my dad and some of the things he would say. I'm going, wait a minute. And then I would say things like this, no, I don't want to do that. Even when he made the announcement to the church, no, because this is what had happened. I remember this now. My dad came by my house about 12 o'clock one night. Now, my dad just didn't do that. That's not who he was. But he came by and he told me, he said, come on, son, let's ride. I said, okay. Got in the car with him. He was driving this old Ford LTD. I'll never forget it. And he took me into the town of Wagner. Pulled beside the traffic light. He just pulled over to the side of the road. And the traffic light is there. And he started talking to me, telling me what God has called me to do. I cried like a baby because I did not want that because I saw what he was going through. But he did that. And then that very next Sunday, he stood up in front of the church and said, this will be the next guy that takes over this church and runs this ministry. This is what God showed me. This is what we're doing. And it wasn't long after that, my dad started getting sick.
Okay.
Around 2007, 8-ish, he was started getting a little sick and things like that. And by this time, I'm pretty much running the church without the title of being a pastor, which was fine with me. I didn't really ever care if I got a title or not. And it was stuff like that that helped with my identity, but helped reaffirm my identity because God had said little things to me coming along. And it would be like, this is what you're going to do. And I would watch my dad. And I started noticing little things like Daddy would ask questions during Bible study. And people, and I was young then, and people would just be looking. And I'm knowing the answer. And I'm going, but I wouldn't be comfortable saying it. And I would say to myself, like, wow, why is it that they don't know this? And I would start remembering, oh, my dad told me this when I was laying on the bed. All that takes me all the way back at 7, all the way back up.
Yes.
And how he was preparing me for my purpose, even through my pain.
Yes. So 2000, when did you begin pastoring? Officially, when did your father pass away?
In 2011. I started pastoring that same year.
Okay. In 2011.
Yep.
But you had kind of begun to do that.
I had really started doing the work around 2007, 2008.
Okay. In 2008, what else happened?
The transplant.
Okay.
The kidney transplant. Because I remember leaving when I got my kidney transplant. That very next Sunday, I wanted to preach. I had so much to say. My dad wouldn't let me. No, son. I remember getting mad with Daddy. Like, Daddy, I got something to say. He was like, no, you're not. Because I still had staples in me and everything. And I was just ready. I just had saw so much stuff. But he, being Daddy, he wasn't thinking about being pastor at the time. He was like, no. Well, yes, sir, I get it, But at the same time, I knew then that it was really on me hard. Because for him to show me that stuff.
It's good that because when you talked about your dad way earlier in the conversation, and how even when you began to hear the voice of the Lord, it sounded like your dad.
It did.
And again, it reminds me of, and that's how a lot of people will ask, well, how do you know when you hear the Lord? And Bishop will often say, it'll sound like your spiritual father.
Without Yep.
And it also goes back to like Samuel and Eli. Was it Eli? Who was it that Samuel, when he was hearing the voice of God?
Yep, and he
did you call me?
Yep.
It wouldn't have sounded like no later. If it was a little later, he wouldn't have been saying, did you call me?
That's exactly right.
It sounded like his spiritual father.
That's it.
And so the fact that your natural father was your spiritual father and was able to walk you through those twists and turns.
People don't realize I lost my natural dad and my spiritual father all at the same time. So that was hard. But thank God for, again, like somebody like Bishop Preston, that was there. Because he made it very clear. You don't have to have me as your spiritual father. I was your dad's spiritual father. Well, it was not a question for me. I knew I was going to be with this man.
Yes, sir.
Because what was funny is I'm the one that got him to my dad. Because Bishop Presley, when I called, we was having an anniversary for my dad. And I called Bishop Presley. Well, I actually talked to Terrell and about getting Bishop Presley on it. Their first response was no.
Okay.
I'm like, wait a minute. Which they didn't know me.
Right.
I didn't know them real well.
Right.
But I also know I'm very adamant.
Yes.
And I was like, no. I'm sitting there and I thought about it for a while after I got off the phone with Terrell. And I didn't ask anybody anything. I went, you know what? Call him back. And I called him back again. I said, Terrell, we really would like to get Bishop down here. And evidently Terrell must have asked Bishop. And Bishop must have told him that he would come, and they came. And I'll never forget the first time they came, because they came on a bus.
Yeah, okay.
On a big Greyhound bus. I remember them coming down there, and we got this little small church. I'm going, oh Lord, man, we about to be overflowing in here. But I remember when he came down, and this is what my dad said. Because after Bishop preached and stuff, my dad said to us, this is Bishop was already gone. He said, that's going to be my spiritual father right there. He said, that's the man for me. And he was up on another guy at the time. But he said, that's the man for me. And when he met Bishop Presley, when he talked to Bishop Presley again, that's what he told him. He said, until I met you, I was waiting to die. And he was. And I knew it. And evidently, that's why the Holy Spirit had me reach out to Bishop Presley. So my dad, last year's, he had a chance to be around somebody that could literally pour into him and really love him unconditionally. And my dad would sneak off from the house because he wasn't even supposed to be driving and stuff. He would sneak off and drive all the way to Beach Island to get with Bishop. And then they would go to Doubletree to eat. And then he'd come back and he would tell my mom stuff like this, because that's after we done chewed him out for sneaking off and stuff. And he would tell my mom, he would say, it's so much in that man head. He would say, that big head is full of stuff. He would love to say stuff like that. But he was right. That man had made a drastic difference in his life.
Yes.
And that's another reason I'm so thankful to Bishop for what he's done. And I know this, even with this setting, and it's supposed to be my journey, it's hard for me not to talk about him.
Yes.
Because he's made that kind of a difference in my life. To see what he did for my dad, to see what he's doing for me. If you would have known me years and years ago, I'm totally different than I was years and years ago. I was borderline everything years ago. Anything could happen at any moment. I was that guy. I never backed down from any fights. I was one of those that didn't think he could lose. I was that type of guy. If there were 10 people against me, I didn't care. My attitude was somebody going.
Okay.
If I only get one or two of you, somebody going out. That was my attitude. If it wasn't for my brothers, I had 2 older brothers, I'd have been in so many fights because I couldn't keep my mouth closed. All that stuff. But then to see this man that has helped make this drastic change in my life, to now I can walk and understand that who I am is valuable. I'm a valuable person to the kingdom. Again, that does not make me better than anybody. That just makes me aware of who I am.
Yes.
And so I spend a lot of time trying to get other people to understand who they are. I say, you don't have a devil issue. You have an identity crisis.
You've already done it, because while you were talking just now, I heard another voice echoing, saying the same thing about you that you said about Bishop Presley. I heard the echo. It was right behind you. And it was talking about this man, but you were this man.
Wow. And you know, it's hard for me to receive at times, and I'm getting better at it. Bishop tells me I have to get better at it too. But I can listen to people in the church talk to me, and they'll say the same things concerning me like I said about Bishop. It's just so hard for me to receive it. And sometimes I have a tendency to go back and judge myself from my past. And I have to learn how to let that go.
Yes, sir.
And totally let it go. I'm way better at it now than I was. Just like you just heard me say, I know I'm valuable to the kingdom.
Yes.
Years ago, I would have never said that.
Right.
No, because again, my sin never changed the assignment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it never changed his view about me.
Right.
It changed my view about me.
Right. Yeah. So, question.
Okay.
What would you say at your age now, if you could talk to, if you were around the bed of 7-year-old Virgil getting ready to have that procedure done, what would you say to that, Virgil?
That's a real good question, because it would have to be almost pretty much like my dad would say to me, son, God's still going to use you. And I would tell a 7-year-old, you're about to go through some stuff. You're going to go through some stuff in life, but it's not to devalue you. It's to increase your value, or to get you to see your value. Because it's really not so much of an increase in value, it's your awareness of your value. So understand that life is going to throw things at you. There's some things you won't have an answer for. There's some things that's going to create a lot of questions in you. But you have to trust the process, that God knows what he's doing. He's allowing you to go through this for a reason. If pain is going to be present in your life, it's only there to push you until your purpose starts to pull you. See, sometimes pain is inevitable in us. If we didn't have the pain, we would never get the pushing necessary to keep doing what we're doing. But it's only there and only necessary until you wake up one day and say, you know what? I don't need that to push me anymore. I need now to understand that the purpose and the thing in which I am called to is pulling me, is driving me. That's why I keep saying when I wake up in the morning, that thing drives me. Because this is what I'm called to.
Yes.
I know what I'm called to, and I'm going to make somebody's life better.
Yes.
So even if the pain comes, it's not necessary to push me. I'm being pulled enough.
Right.
The pain is to keep me on edge.
Yes.
Because I need that edge. I can't lose an edge.
Yes.
I get bored very fast.
Yes.
Church makes me boring. If I get bored in church, I ain't no good. You know what I'm saying? That's why I don't like for our church to be average. So if I'm talking to the 7-year-old, I need him to understand not to ever give up on himself. Even if he's made mistakes in the past. If you're going to, and you will make mistakes, but don't give up on you. Trust that God has this process and you're in this process, and you're going to be better through it all.
Yes.
Yeah, so just don't give up.
Yes.
And keep trusting. If you got questions, ask questions. There's plenty of people that I tell, even with me concerning me now, I love questions because then I get a chance to be an answer. I like problems because then I can get a chance to be a solution. So keep bringing that so I can keep getting better. So that 7-year-old has to understand that no matter what you're faced with, no matter what it is, it's all part of the journey. The journey is where you grow. Don't be in a hurry to reach destination. Enjoy the journey. Sit back, chill, go through it. It's going to be rough at times, but sit back, go through the thing. Don't be in a hurry to reach that.
Right.
The anointing is for the journey, not the destination. It's necessary, so go through it.
Yes.
It's all right. It's going to be, and you will make mistakes, I promise. Care who you are. You're going to make mistakes, but you don't have to become the mistake.
Yes. Yes.
Please understand that was still part of the process.
Yes.
Even the mistakes. See, I tell people all the time, when you fail, at least it's proof that you tried something.
Yes.
Okay? So you failed. So what? You found a way that didn't work. So you don't have to worry about that again.
Right.
Growth looks like not making the same mistakes over and over again. That's what growth is.
Yes.
So guess what? Just learn from it. And I heard Miles Monroe years ago say this here: when you fall, pick up something while you're down there. In other words, learn a valuable lesson from it and keep on moving. That's what I would tell him. Keep going.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. Can you think of anything that you would like to share that you have not already touched on? Anything that you want to release as encouragement to someone? Even looking back over your because there's a common thread through your life.
Yeah. I would mostly really want to encourage people, especially someone that's watching this, to don't settle for being average. I know I've said that before. But don't settle for being average, and don't just become an ordinary manager. Lead. Understand that you've been gifted to lead. Which also means you've been gifted to dominate. Dominate circumstances.
Right.
Sometimes somebody's going through something, they don't know how to get out of what they're going through. When you're a dominator, you know how to set the right environment that's conducive for breakthroughs. And I always tell people, stop sitting back waiting on somebody else to get a breakthrough for you.
So so what if somebody says, but I'm not a leader. I'm a good follower, but I'm not a leader. What would you say to them?
Everybody's born a leader. I don't care who you are. Now, you can choose not to lead. Oh, because that's by choice. See, one of the greatest things God ever gave us is a will. But also one of the most damaging things that God ever gave us was a will. Because it also gives you the ability to say no to him. You know what I'm saying? So all of us are born to lead, but you have to become a leader in your mind first. See, when you have this leadership spirit that's on the inside of you that God gave you, but until you get this leadership mentality, you never walk in what you're called to do, and you'll always be that follower. See, to me, you know how the Bible talks about wide is the way to destruction? It's not literally talking about hell. It's talking about, when it's talking about the wide areas, that's you walking with everybody else. That's being a follower. Leaders are those that are walking the opposite direction. And a leader is always somebody that's going to walk in everybody else that's average. He'll bump into those always because he's going into the narrow area. He'll never go with the flow. He always orchestrates outside of the flow of the normal.
Yes.
So he'll go, and he goes to the narrow because he realizes there's things in his life that he still need to get off of him. Well, that's what happens through the narrow way.
Yes.
You get that stuff off of you that you've been holding on to.
Yes. Yes, that's good. Well, I want to thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
I want to thank you
really
for coming to speak with us, talk to me, and help us all. It has been a pleasure. I didn't know which way we never know which way we're going.
Well, we were all over the place.
Yep, but it was some good places.
It was a good place.
It was some good places.
Yes,
So I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your journey.
Thank you.
I'm grateful for you not giving in, not giving up.
Thank you, Jesus.
Because there were so many times that you talked about through your life that there were people who were in the same situation who didn't live to tell about it.
I agree. I totally
and you
agree.
sit here in full power, able to tell about it. And so I thank you for your journey.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes,
I really appreciate it. This
Yes,
has
sir.
been a blessing.
And I want to thank you for just taking the time to share with us on this journey that we took with Virgil Bynem. I know that it has helped you in some way, shape, or form. And I know that if you share it with someone, it'll help them. So I'm going to ask you to share this because I know there was something that has been said that is going to change lives. And then I want to ask you to join us next week, same place, same time, for the Sister Speak Brother Break show. Be blessed. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you've been blessed by today's show, feel free to let us know. And if you'd like to sow into this ministry, become a sponsor, or contact us, you can reach us at 803-221-0169. Or you can email us at thessbbshow@gmail.com. Let's continue this journey together.